If I were to tell you to name a YouTuber who releases an unprecedented amount of rumors and theories that have absolutely no backing in fact and have no sources to back himself up whatsoever inside the Star Wars fandom, who would you name? Odds are many of you, like myself, would name Mike Zeroh as the culprit. However, a new YouTuber, who's really not all that new at all, has burst onto the Star Wars scene with his radical theory, and his name is Doomcock. I'm not sure why I censored that. Going forward, I'm not going to. Now, originally, I wasn't going to be doing any video on this whatsoever because plenty of YouTubers out there who are bigger and better than me have already done so. However, every time I look online, there's more news coming out, and everything always cites Doomcock as the origin of any of these far-fetched theories. These aren't even theories. These aren't even like well-crafted ideas of what could happen. This is just ideas that only the most radical of Star Wars fans would actually support in any way. For those of you unfamiliar with this, we'll go into this briefly here. Doomcock's entire idea about the Star Wars franchise is that there is infighting inside Lucasfilm between Jon Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy. It is his unverified source that says that Lucasfilm is actually going through the works and plans of making the sequel trilogy uncanon, meaning that they are going to officially go back and make the entire series uncanon, rendering it in this weird Elseworlds kind of stories and branded Star Wars Legends. His independent backup of this idea is that Star Wars has not released any new literature, movies, or kind of shows, comics, anything really that takes place in the sequel trilogy era. And quite frankly, that's wrong, but we can get into that later. His entire idea and premise centers around the idea of using the world between worlds, which we see in Star Wars Rebels, as a launching point. That essentially, whenever Darth Sidious was thrown down the elevator shaft in Episode 6, he went into the world between worlds, using himself to teleport through there without the aid of something that he called the Room of Mirrors or something like that. And that all one would have to do is to go into the Room of Mirrors, which he claims was seen in Episode 9 whenever Rey, fights herself, that this dark side Rey is actually a version of an alternate universe that is found in the Room of Mirrors, or the Hall of Mirrors. And that all one has to do is enter in a point into the Room of Mirrors, go to the world between worlds, find Darth Sidious whenever he enters into, after he falls down the elevator shaft, and kill him there, thus rendering the sequel trilogy completely irrelevant. Not only irrelevant, but completely non-canon. First off, Star Wars time travel does exist, but not in the sense that the more common idea is where you go back in time and do something and it changes the future. Star Wars time travel is cyclical. Everything that has happened will happen. Anything that can happen has already happened. But I'm sure you want an example. At the end of Season 2, the fate of Ahsoka Tano was left up in the air after her duel with Darth Vader. However, in the final shots of the episode, we actually see Ahsoka descending onto the temple on Malachor 5. It is then revealed in Season 4 that it was Ezra who pulled her out and into the world between worlds, where they had a brief encounter with Darth Sidious, and then she eventually went back to her own time. In the world between worlds, she counsels Ezra against attempting to save Kanan Jarrus, who at the time has died. It is through these two events that we can see that changing the past is impossible, and anything that has happened will happen. Ahsoka always survived because she was seen in the Season 2 finale descending into the temple. And of course, later in Season 4, we see exactly how she escaped Darth Vader. In the Star Wars universe, there is no way to change the past. There is no way to affect the future without, just regular everyday actions. But you can't go back in time and change something. So this theory automatically falls short. And again, I really know that I shouldn't be covering this, honestly. Doomcock is just throwing wild theories at the wall and seeing whatever sticks. But I feel the need to do so because it seems like all the time, he's releasing new videos with new theories. But lately, he's been only talking about this Lucasfilm infighting, and this idea that they're going to erase the sequel trilogy, and it's completely untrue. This guy is worse than Mike Zeroh. And if you need an example of just to contradict him, look at all this stuff that Star Wars actually has released that is taking place in the sequel trilogy. Now, keep in mind that his timeline shift occurs right at the end of Episode 6, meaning everything that takes place after Episode 6 would be effectively erased and moved to Star Wars Legends. Now, he claims that the only thing that it would affect is the sequel trilogy, but this is blatantly untrue. Aside from just mainline movies, which obviously we have Episodes 7, 8, and 9 not occurring, we wouldn't have the show Star Wars Resistance, which I'm sure a lot of people would be just completely fine with doing away with, but that means also The Mandalorian wouldn't happen because the New Republic wouldn't exist in the way that it did, that Sidious wouldn't be pulling the strings. We also wouldn't have things like the Kylo Ren comic, we wouldn't have things like any of the Poe Dameron comics, or we wouldn't have any of this stuff that has to do with Star Wars World and Disney World. or in Disneyland. I'm honestly not sure which one it is. The Rise of Resistance ride, any of the novels that take place, Resistance Rising. There's so much stuff that actually is in the Star Wars universe and fills in the gap between episodes 6 and 8, and then, or 6 and 7, and then of course from 7 to 9. There's also the Aftermath trilogy, okay? There's so much stuff that the Star Wars universe has done to actually fill in these gaps that we would effectively be doing away with. There's a new Star Wars game coming out that takes place immediately following episode 6, and you want to tell me that they are actually planning on doing away with this all? And if that wasn't it, if that was just all that we were doing about it, if Doomcock's only thing, if he had stopped there, I might just be like, alright, it's just rambling, but whatever. But he has doubled down on this. Citing again his, independent source that he has personally verified, but obviously he can't state it, but therefore we have no way of trusting it. He's also stated that Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down. Wow, that's a real creative one. It's not like people have been saying that for years and, nothing has actually happened to that. But he has actually gone further to say that she will be leading her own female-centric company. And here is where everything really, he just sheds a light onto his own argument. Now listen, I'm no feminist, but there are certainly a lot of people that are complaining about the kind of female-centric sequel trilogy as if having a female lead was the problem. That was never the problem of the sequel trilogy to begin with. However, it's very clear that by adding this into his little theory, he is appealing himself to a certain sect of the Star Wars fandom. No one hates Rey because she's a girl. People hate Rey because she's a terrible character, who got her accomplishments simply by being there. Guys, Doomcock is an idiot. He's worse than Mike Zeroh. He is actually just releasing theory after theory that all kind of go in this common vein of they're making the sequel trilogy irrelevant. And I've seen so many YouTubers cover this. I've even seen Star Wars Theory try to take the soft approach by saying like, oh, well, it sounds like a good idea, but I don't think it's going to happen, which was probably the safe way to play this. I'm not Star Wars Theory, so I don't care. This is a stupid idea. This is a terrible idea, motivated by fans who genuinely hate the sequel trilogy. Argue all you want, I don't like the sequel trilogy. However, making the sequel trilogy non-canon would do far more harm to the movie, to the actual saga, than it would otherwise. I mean, what are you going to do? You might have your opportunity to remake the sequel trilogy, but your opportunity to remake the sequel trilogy with the original trilogy cast has long passed. Carrie Fisher passed in 2016. Mark Hamill is dissatisfied with the direction. Harrison Ford wants absolutely nothing to do with Star Wars. You might be able to get Billy D. Williams back, but that's probably the best you can do. But ultimately, very little of the cast, if at all, is going to return. Doomcock is literally spreading lies. I'm genuinely calling him out here. I think what he is saying is a lie. He is a liar. This is nothing more than fan fiction. Sorry, this isn't even really fan fiction. This is straight up just like you putting your own will into a corporation. And let me tell you, Disney has no intention whatsoever of making the sequel trilogy irrelevant. They bought Star Wars for $4 billion, and guess how much money they made back just with episodes 7, 8, and 9. Doomcock, you're an absolute idiot, you're a fraud, and worse, I genuinely think you're lying to the Star Wars fan base just so you can get clicks. Sorry everyone, bit of a rant, little bit mad about this guy, but you know what, Doomcock, I genuinely think you are one of the worst YouTubers out there, and I'm so glad that YouTubers who I genuinely respect, like Star Wars Only, are out there making videos that say that this guy is just as big of an idiot as I think he is. Hopefully you all agree. Comment your thoughts below. Let me know if you actually think this theory of his holds any validity. I don't think it does. I don't think it ever will. But leave me your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again next time.